Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Sports Edition, where we have sports talk and hot sports opinions hotter than the Texas summer. We're going to be talking Alabama and Texas today. We're going to talk about last week's game in high school. There were some big matchups there. We're going to talk about some matchups this week coming up in high school. They'll start tonight, tomorrow, and then on Saturday as well. We'll talk about some of the top games there. We're going to get into a little bit of Cowboys talk, and who knows, maybe our host Brian will talk a little bit about the betting lines on some of those games and possibly some fantasy football stuff. But stay tuned. We're going to get the show going right now.
Welcome to Real Talk Sports Edition with Brian Poduska, where you will get sports talk and sports opinions hotter than a Texas summer.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? All right, here we are. Let's go. You are watching Real Talk with Brian Poduska Sports Edition. We are on, I think, week 3 now of the new format. So for those of you who have watched us in the past, we were more business focused. We still will have some business topics going forward. Some shows will pop in with business topics, but we are sports themed going forward for the most part. So welcome to the show today. As Lendon teased out there, we have a lot to cover today. We are getting into week 2 officially of the college football season. NFL season kicks off, so we have a lot to talk about there, and we're going to talk about the high school results and then the upcoming games as well. So, quick. Hey, Lendon, why don't you jump on if you're back there?
I'm here.
What's up, my friend?
Not much. Ready to hear all this trash talking that we're going to have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to today's show. We've got quite a few very passionate individuals who are going to square off on the UT Alabama game. So we won't waste much time leading up to bringing them in here. But I did want to recap last week's show real quick. Great visit with Parish Episcopal coach Dan. Got to pronounce his name right.
Novikov.
Right? Yep, that's right. So Dan was on, joined us, and he was awesome to have on as a guest. And then as a follow up, I did even more research on him and more research on the team. I didn't realize how dominant they've been over the last 5 to 8 years, I guess, since he's been at the helm. They've won 3 straight state championships at the TAPS level. As we talked about last week, they are one of the few schools at that level to rank in not only the DFW high school football rankings, but also the Texas state rankings. So last I checked, they were number 12 on the Texas ranking, number 9 in DFW, and clearly number 1 at the TAPS level. So it was awesome having him on. I did see that they had a really tight game, score-wise, 24-17. And I was looking for some of the detail. I saw some of the highlights. Man, the running back that they have can scoot. But yeah, that was a tighter game, I think, than if they had official high school lines that they probably didn't cover. But the fact that they won is the important part.
Yep. It's like our coach used to say, you got to win the ugly ones. So if they did that, that's good. But I know they got South Oak Cliff coming up, and Oak Cliff, I think, is a loss. They're 0-2 right now, which is kind of unusual.
Yep.
But it's not going to be easy for Parish. That's a big giant that they're going to have to slay there.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I think is that this weekend?
I believe it's tomorrow.
Cliff.
I think I'm checking on that now, but I think that's true.
I think you're right, and you are correct in that they are 0-2. So a perennial power, at least the last several years. South Oak Cliff, and I think they're still ranked pretty high in the area at 0-2 because they've had a tough schedule, but they're going to be coming in pretty salty. So we'll see how that one goes.
I want to jump in real quick, and of course I got to give a shout out to my old. I can't say my old school. I didn't go to school there, but I coached there. But Dallas Christian, we were talking to Coach Novikov about his college roommate is the head coach at Fort Bend Baptist, which that coach also played at Dallas Christian under the head coach there now. and they had a matchup this weekend. And Daniel was expecting Coach Jordan Black to finally get a win over Coach Wheeler, and it didn't happen. Coach Wheeler,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It was a tough game, and DC pulled it out in the end. It was really close to the end. I know that we got one of our guests on today that went to DC. I think there's a couple of them, but I'm sure he'll share a little information about that. He actually, Stephen Pine, who's been a part of the difference before, by the way, he played with Jordan Black. They graduated together, won the state championship their senior year. And so, Stephen probably can share a little bit of information on that as well.
Awesome. Love it. Well, you know what? Should we jump in and start to talk?
Let's bring them in.
All right.
There we are.
Hey.
All right. What's up, gentlemen?
So we don't have Farron on right now. I don't know if he lost connection or not, but we do have Jordan. Jordan is also an ex DC grad, and
That's right.
And he come on to talk a little noise with the rest of them. But so I want to introduce everybody. We got Stephen Pine. You guys can talk a little bit about where you're from and what you do. Cody Thompson and Jordan. All these folks are friends of mine, but they all have an opinion, and you can take that for what it's worth. An opinion, you'll probably have a penny. So, we're gonna get going. Brian, I'll let you get this kicked off, and we'll see how this thing goes.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So, the reason we brought you guys on, and this is kind of what we're trying to do as we go forward, is let's pick a big matchup for the week coming up and bring on some passionate fans, some knowledgeable fans, and let you guys run with it. So talk as much shit as you want. We are allowed to say that word on this show. If we get too out of control or, get too offensive, Lennon has the hook and can kick you off. But pretty much anything goes. So there are very few rules as far as this conversation and this discussion goes. So feature game of the week. We've got a very strange matchup, right? Because we were talking before the show started. This is, and Cody, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a first time in a century, something like that these two teams have matched up. So Alabama, Crimson Tide of Alabama coming to Austin. So again, kind of a strange deal because what I do know is that Nick Saban does not schedule very many non-conference road games. Most of the time he makes those teams come to him. I heard somewhere along the road, I'm not entirely sure on the statistic, but it's something like he's undefeated in all those games, and it's a whopping total of like 4. So he's like 0-4 in these strangely scheduled games. So that doesn't provide much insight. But gentlemen, thanks for joining us for this discussion. Why don't we start it off with let's just go around the horn. We'll start with Steven, then go to Jordan, then go to Cody. Just start real simple. What's your prediction of the score?
Very good. Well, first of all, if I'd have known Jordan was going to be on here, I'd have done more research because I know Jordan does his research. So I don't know if I'll be prepared for Jordan or not. But my prediction on the score, man, that's a tough one. I don't know. Anytime you travel somewhere, especially a big school like Texas, the first half's always kind of that wild card. And if you know anything about Alabama, as far as their history, at least with Saban, the first half's always one of those fill you out, develop our game plan more to an extent of what we're going to do the second half. And Saban's pretty much the master at that. So, the first half's going to kind of be the tell for me as far as what the final score will be. But I'm obviously going to pick Alabama. And I think going into Austin, I think somewhere at halftime, I could see Bama up by, 7 or 10 points, and that'll be close. And we'll probably score later in the second quarter, just going off of kind of how Alabama plays and how Saban manages his games. And then I think we cover the spread. I think we can win by 20 points. So,
all right, the gauntlet has been thrown.
Yep, shots have been fired. Here we go.
Spread. Okay, those are fighting words right there, man. Okay. All right. Well, so we've got the clash of two pretty awesome head coaches. I think one who used to work for the other. So I think that's really kind of an interesting dynamic that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. So that'll be a fun one. But we've got on one side, a lot of experience from Alabama, and Texas is just like full of a ton of youth. The 5-star recruits are just rolling in like crazy with Texas right now. And so it's going to be really interesting because there's a lot of unknowns with Texas because they are so young, but they are freakishly talented. The recruiting class that's been coming in is just crazy. Our quarterback, Ewers here from Southlake, just right up the road from me, he is one of only a handful of recruits out of high school in all of college football history to receive a perfect 1,000 grade. And so it's going to be super exciting to see him tear up that Alabama defense. And so I got a 45-42 win for the Longhorns.
Oh, wow. All right.
All right. That's going out on a limb. I like it.
Yeah, so Saban's 25-2 against his former coaches, and 2 of those losses were last year between Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher. So I think this is personal between him and Sark when he saw this opportunity to come down and show Texas what's up. But Sark has something to prove. I'm really excited to see what this defense can do against that high-powered Alabama offense. We do have a lot of young talent. I think we're trending up. Alabama's kind of peaked, and I think they can still stay at the top for years to come with Saban at the helm. But I think they've kind of peaked, and there's other schools that are catching and gaining ground, and Texas is one of those to be a contender in addition to Georgia and LSU, not LSU, other schools in that top ranking. So, but I think they do cover the spread for Alabama. Unfortunately, this is going to be just a kind of a good benchmark for us. It's not going to define our season. I think if we get to the Big 12 championship and win that, that's really the goal at the end of the season. I also think that it'll be a close game to start through the halftime, but I think in the end, Alabama takes control in the third quarter, and then they end up winning probably by at least 17. So I'm going to say 42-24, somewhere in that range. So that's my thoughts on that.
How do you sit there with your burnt orange on and say words like this?
I can see the steam coming off his back
I'm a realist, and I know exactly where we're at right now, and I hope that we win, and I hope that we can upset them. But just realistically, I don't know if this is not our year yet. We're still early, but I think Quinn Ewers definitely has the talent. If we can give him time to throw and move the ball, we definitely can hang on the field. But I think their size and their overall depth is going to take us at this game. So I'm going to be cheering hard, but I just don't know if it's going to be this season. So
Cody's like George Washington. He cannot tell a lie. He's got to be honest. It's breaking his heart. Since we only have one Bama fan in here, I'm going to jump in on this conversation a little bit because I'm an SEC fan and I root for the SEC unless they're playing the Razorbacks. And this is the second game this year for Texas, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. And what happened in the second game last year?
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we are going to talk about that. They walked into Fayetteville and got drummed by a rebuilding Arkansas team. So I'm going to tell Texas fans a lot what I told the A&M fans when they first joined the SEC. You're going to have some of the greatest years that you've ever had and finish third or fourth in the SEC West. And so I think that Texas is on the upswing, but my God, where else could you go after where they've been for the last 4 or 5 years? It's kind of like Arkansas.
Right.
So I think that, they're just not ready for Alabama yet. I do think that Saban takes this kind of stuff personal, like Cody said. I think it's going to be somewhere, 42-21, something like that. And it just is what it is. They're just, Alabama's Alabama for a reason. And, anybody that understands sports and staying on top and keeping egos in check for that long, I mean, that's why I do it. Is there one team out there that wouldn't take Saban as their head coach?
Yeah, we wouldn't sell our soul to Nick Saban. There's no way we'd do that. So
Yeah.
Well, Texas tried. Texas did try.
Yeah, they did. I think A&M
No, that
tried.
was just a facade. They weren't really trying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We're talking about Texas the last 5 years, but really, so when Alabama and Texas met last in the Rose Bowl in 2010, and that was your century comment, Brian, was regular season games. They haven't played a regular season game in over 100 years, but they did play in the Rose Bowl for the national championship. The 2009 season, 2010 Rose Bowl. And that was kind of the tale of two teams going in opposite directions. So Alabama had been bad for so long. We went through the Shula days, Francione days, Mike DuBose before that. It was bad. It was a bad ride. And so we were on the upswing. Nick Saban early in his career. Texas was riding high. Texas had a great year. Mac Brown was still there. That game was a pivotal point for both those schools because Alabama from that point on just has created one of the best runs you probably will ever see in college football, arguably. And Texas went the opposite direction. And then Texas started going through the coaches. They fired 3 or 4 coaches since then. And it's just been two different directions. The good thing, and I'll speak highly about Texas, is a great choice in bringing Sark over to Austin. I hated that when he left Alabama because he's one of the best play callers I've ever seen. That guy, he is good, and he's a heck of a recruiter too. And you're starting to see that with Texas, and I'll give him some props for that. And Ewers was a great pickup. We'll see what he can do against Alabama's defense. And even if he struggles, I'm not going to blame it all on him because your O-line's young. And Alabama's pretty seasoned on defense. It's going to be tough to score 40 points against us. But that class last year brought in, and what's looking like in 2023, you've already got 3 5-star commits coming in, and you're currently ranked number 2 as far as recruiting classes, right behind Alabama for the next year as well. So if y'all give Sark some time, he'll bring the players in, and I think he's a good development coach too. So there's a bright future for Texas.
Once they landed Manning, Arch Manning,
yeah,
the dominoes started falling, right?
You're right, right.
But you talked about the old national championship game going way back. And if you look back at that game, what you'll remember is in the first quarter, Alabama gets the ball. It's a 3-and-out. Texas drives down, scores. And that's whenever we see how Nick Saban really did sell his soul to the devil because there's this freak accident that happens with Colt McCoy where his arm turned into a noodle. So clearly there was some witchcraft going on there. And, that can only stand for so long. Eventually, the devil's going to come back and bite him in the ass. So, we'll see how this works out.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot. And the thing is, you never know how the game would ended up. It would have been a different game for sure. But you never know. And of course, any team I can say that about the Georgia game last year when Williams got knocked out too. It's like, maybe that was the witchcraft turning on us, and let Georgia get us last year. I don't know. But that's the game of football, unfortunately. Players get hurt, but you really hate it when it's your stars and your game changers, which it's happened to both of us plenty of times. But it is fun to banter about that because he was a heck of a quarterback, and it would have been a different game. It would have definitely been a different game.
Stephen, to piggyback off of what you said about Sark, I mean, the thing I'm excited about is the upside with him coaching up these young quarterbacks. He's got Quinn Ewers. He's got, Manning coming to the campus here next year. He could be easily leading the charge when we enter the SEC the next 2 years. So I see a bright future with that because that quarterback position is key for landing those other skill positions and also leading your team onto the field and into the next level of competition. So, that's why I say, Texas is definitely trending back up. We've been adrift for so long, 3 coaches and a lot of frustration, more than not as much as the Cowboys, but about the same as far as that. But
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, for sure. But the coaching pedigree that we have now, I think that's going to be the big difference, needle mover. And I know Saban knows that his days are numbered. I mean, he can. He's got some competition out there now they have to go up against, and he's mentored these guys, and they know his playbook, and so there's gonna be a lot of familiarity if we can match him, with the talent and the skill. Is gonna be the question on Saturday. So,
one thing that you said that I've been thinking about for probably the last 4 or 5 years, because as much as you play somebody, you do start to learn and understand what they're doing. I think this is where Saban, where most people it would hurt their program, but I think for Saban it's where it's helped. He's replacing OCs and defensive coordinators regularly.
Every
so for
year.
someone to have left there and think this is what they do, now you've got a new guy coming in that they don't know that much about. And I do think that he's great at hiring. He's great at getting everybody to buy in, but he allows those guys. Sark came in and kind of put his offense in. Lane Kiffin put his offense in, and he let them do that. I mean, for a while that Saban was a run the football, run the football, run the football.
Yeah.
He didn't like that no huddle fast pace, and then he started doing it because you kind of have to. But I think it's hard. I think it's impossible to say, okay, I coached with him for 2 years, so now I know what they're doing. Because you leave and he's got new people, and I think that's a testament to him. And I hate singing his praises sometimes, but it just to be able to lose, to have that much turnover in your staff, to lose that kind of talent every year, and you not see. I mean, last year they called it a rebuilding year, and they were in the championship game. That's just unbelievable. I mean, you can't help but admire the guy for whatever it is he's doing.
Last year, Lendon was probably, as an Alabama fan, the one season in the last 6 or 7 years where I would have been content if we'd have lost just a couple games. Looking at our talent going in, like you said, is a rebuilding year. But, man, those guys are so good. Those coaches are so good at game scheming and putting things together and making game time adjustments. It's unprecedented. You don't see it matched anywhere else in college football. With the exception, I do think Sark can do that at Texas.
Yeah.
He's a great coach. He really is. If they can hold on to him and not run him out of town, then if they'll give him some time, I think he can do some great things there. But the SEC is a little bit different than the Big 12. So every game it's a tough one. It doesn't matter who you're playing. So.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quick, we've got somebody with on here that's not on camera, audio. He's a good friend of mine, Blake Pettigrew. Blake, can you hear me?
I can. I love
Okay,
listening.
man.
I'm sorry I missed out on the early conversation, but I'm a Sooner fan. Grew up at Oklahoma. Hey, I know. But I'm a huge admirer of Alabama and what they've done. I'm jealous, envious, if you will. But it's fun watching it, and I love. And we've taken them down a couple times over the years, and I think it's possible. And I'm just listening to what you guys were saying too. I agree. I don't know if Texas is quite there yet, but as an ex-bookie, I'm looking at this line and everybody jumping on the spread, and I'm like, I almost in the mentality of saying you got to go with Texas with the line because everybody's jumping on Bama. It's crazy, but it'll be a good game, I think.
What do you think score is going to be, Blake?
Well, I posted on your Facebook post this morning, 55-14, and I now I'm questioning that because that was my
That's
gut.
the opposite of what you just said.
There went your $25 gift card.
But that is exactly what I said. I mean, that's what I was saying. That in my bookie days, when everybody would jump on one side, it would typically go to the other, and that's what I'm seeing right now. I feel like it could happen that way.
I think if Bijan Robinson can have a really solid game and they can control the football and get that O-line pushing back a little bit more and giving Quinn Ewers some opportunities on the third down, short third downs, I think that could be an X factor that no one's really talking about either.
The real X factor is that he actually got sponsored by a mustard company, right? Because his name's
Yes.
Bijan, right? So
Yes.
and they actually hooked him up with the Lambo. So we got our running backs got a Lamborghini, and our quarterback just got an Aston Martin. So I mean, it's game over.
Man,
Well,
about
he
too
got
young to
living
go
the
back
life.
and play college football again.
I know,
Hey,
right?
Right?
Yeah, how do we get that NIL deal for us radio show hosts? I mean, come on.
Hey, Ewers is leading the votes right now for the best mullet in the college sports game right
Hey,
now.
you can't beat
no
that
doubt.
haircut. You cannot
No
beat that
doubt.
That pulls some
haircut.
weight right there. There's no question.
Yeah.
My
I do have a college photo of me with a mullet. So Maybe
Hey,
I'll
oh,
do
yeah.
that
But
one.
was it bleached like that?
No, I didn't bleach mine.
Hey,
I didn't bleach
We
mine.
need to see that photo.
I like the
Yes.
Moxie. though.
Did you shave in the lines too on the sides?
No, I didn't get. No, we weren't that cool back then.
That's badass.
Yeah, you
Almost
need to
like
post that
Molly.
photo.
My kids go to South Lake, and they graduated with him. One of my oldest girl graduated with him, and he's had that cut, 3 years now, 4 years. I think I even changed my haircut more than that.
And when it works,
That was like a whole thing with South Lake. They were all bleaching their hair too. So
They do
Yeah,
that.
I
They
remember
do
that.
that
That
when the playoffs start. They do that.
Yeah.
It's just a tradition that I've been here 15 years, and that's what they do during playoff runs.
Yeah.
It's unique, I guess.
I don't have enough hair left to bleach.
my son plays hockey, so if you want to talk about haircuts, hockey hair
Oh, man.
probably eclipses all of that. Hey, I've got a question for you guys, namely you, Steven, I guess.
All right.
So the elephant in the room, right? Nick Saban. He's 7 years
Yeah.
old. How many more years does he have left, in your opinion? And you talked about it earlier about the process that he creates as a coach, right? And his
Yeah.
coaching tree has grown immensely because of that process. So who's the logical successor? Because at 70,
Oof.
how many more years do you
Great
really have?
question.
Well, that's a great question. And I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you what I tell everybody that asks me that. But first of all, he just signed a new contract a few weeks ago through 2030, I believe, for $93 million. That's base salary, not including incentives. So hopefully, as long as he lives that long, we'll have him for another 7 years or so. I don't know. As far as the successor is concerned, here's my worry: is like, who in their right mind that's a decent coach at a good program is going to leave and come to Alabama and try to fill those shoes? I just, unless money talks to them, which that's not really the kind of guy you want anyways, right? Who's going to leave a good why would, if Dabo stays pretty solid in Clemson and they're happy with Dabo and Clemson, why would he come to Alabama and risk that and not be able to carry on traditions and the same type of success as Saban? I don't know. I kind of foresee like an Alabama recession coming for a little while when he leaves until we can build back out of that. And I know schools go through that, but that's realistically, I think that's going to happen because I don't know if it was me. I mean, I wouldn't want to step in behind Saban and because Alabama fans, they're rough, man. If you're not
Who would
winning,
do it? You know who
who's
would
that?
do it? Lane Kiffin would
Oh,
leave Ole
God.
Miss to go to Alabama.
and he wouldn't care though, right?
Nope.
He wouldn't care. You're right.
He's
He
got
would,
that
but-
personality and that
He
ego.
does. He does. I don't like Lane Kiffin though. I personally don't want him there, but he would do
I
it.
wouldn't. I was glad when we didn't get him at Arkansas because I
Yeah.
just felt like that it was going to be a temporary deal.
It would have been. He's a great play caller for sure. But and I don't know how Saban kept him in check the way he did, but I just couldn't imagine being behind closed doors in there. But I don't know, man. That's a really tough question. But I'm just hoping we don't have to face that for another 7 or 8 years until this contract runs out, and then we'll see what happens. And I'll still cheer. I'll still go to the games, but I can foresee us being a 500 team for a while after that.
Well,
Good.
yeah,
Maybe Arkansas can win some.
Yeah, yeah.
the winds of change are always a little unsure, but at 7 years, I don't. I think that would definitely be the over on what his longevity is there, and I'm just being realistic, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious myself because he is absolutely, if not the best in the discussion for the
He
top
is.
3 college coaches of all time. So
He's great. But he stays healthy. He stays
Yeah.
healthy and he loves it. And his wife is unbelievably supportive. So it's like if there's somebody that can make it to 77 doing it, I mean, I could see Saban doing it. I don't look at Saban and think he's that old. But
How old was Bowden when he quit?
gosh,
Good question.
I don't
He was in his
70, 74 maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Bowden started kind of losing it, so he needed to step
he
down.
did.
But
So,
yeah,
What
hey,
about
we need
Joe
to jump.
Paterno?
We need to jump to commercial real quick. So,
Perfect.
Brian, we will pick that one up on the backside, and
That's cool.
we'll keep this going.
All right.
The
Okay.
difference is made possible by the following small businesses. Real property management focus. an unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex.
Katie Owen, the insurance gal, helps overwhelmed Medicare-eligible people successfully navigate the enrollment process. When turning 65, retiring, and signing up for Medicare for the first time, it can be confusing. So it's important to get guidance from someone you can trust. Katie helps her clients navigate the enrollment process in a way that eliminates the feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure and leaves her clients feeling relieved and confident. If you have questions about the Medicare process and want advice from someone you can trust, reach out to Katie at 972-943-3943 or at her website, www.insgal.com.
When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All right. Well, thanks again to all our sponsors. Couldn't do it without you. We appreciate you each and every week and each and every day we do this. So back at it here, talking UT Alabama. So coming off the question of Saban, I think that's a good one, and we'll leave it there. I think there will be a lot of debate over the next several years, I think, as to who is the right successor. And personally, my personal opinion, since it's my show, I got to throw in my personal opinion every once in a while. I think it's going to come from within his program. I don't think it's a Dabo Swinney for that exact reason. You don't leave a massive program with massive success to go to another one where you're set up for failure. So personally, I believe it's coming from within. I don't know who that is because I'm not as knowledgeable about his coaching staff and his coaching tree within that program. But it's either that or potentially a smaller school that has seen a lot of success from one of his coaching tree members. But my personal opinion, I do have to ask you guys. I asked you guys what your opinion of the final score of this week's game would be. Now, where do we stand on the season? So this one will be interesting because I know Steven's going to pretty much weigh in with a zero on the back end. So there's wins and losses. I'm going to say there's probably going to be a zero on that back end. But I'm curious from all you guys, what do you think final records for the season will be and where that'll lead you guys, bowl-wise? So, Steven, let's start with you.
Oh, man. Well, I'm trying to remember how many regular season games we have plus the playoff games. But, it's rare these days to go undefeated. I mean, Alabama's done it. I don't know. We did it in 2020, I think, when we won out. But I don't think since then, I think 2009 we did when we ended up playing Texas. But I think we've had a loss in almost every other season. Either A&M has snuck up on us or, someone
LSU.
snuck up on us. LSU has snuck up on us.
Yeah.
Stuff like but so it's not rare for that to happen. So, I could see us going, if my calculations are right, 13-1, hopefully, and we make it to the national championship game. I just, the thing I know that college football fans don't want is to see an Alabama-Georgia SEC championship and then playing again just like last year. And I don't think that's really great for the sport either. But, right now, unless Ohio State gets a lot better and some of these other schools get better, they're definitely the best two teams in the country right now. So
well, and that being said, as a Big 12 fan, I didn't like that but they were definitely the best two teams in the nation
Yeah.
last year. And if it turns out that way this year, same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you deny those two just because they're from the same conference?
Right.
Say they can't be
Right.
in there.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of putting the best two teams against each other, and obviously that vehicle is going to change a little bit as we move to a 12-team playoff, which was announced earlier this week.
Right.
I think we're looking at 2026 as potentially the latest, so it could even be in the next couple of years. So that'll be interesting. And again, I think you're still in college football. You still have two very uneven playing fields. So you've got the SEC, you've got the Big Ten at a lower level than that even. And I'm a Big Ten guy, but let's just be honest. The SEC is the cream of the crop. The Big Ten is probably the second. You've got the Big 12 and Pac-10, Pac-12, wherever that goes, who knows. So there's hopefully going to be a little bit of evening out. But, the end goal is to always have the best two teams play each other. And if that happens to be from the SEC, so be it.
Yeah. I
So,
agree.
so I want to get Steven's opinion on this. So they got Texas this weekend. Then they got LA Monroe.
Yeah.
Then Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt looks different this year.
Yeah, they do.
I wouldn't call them back, but they're better.
They're better for sure.
And then you got Arkansas and Fayetteville. Last
Right.
year we played them to within 7 and was, an onside kick away from having the ball and a chance to tie.
Yep.
Could that be a trap game? Could that be the trap game this year?
No doubt. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Arkansas is riding high, man. Arkansas, I've always had a little bit under my skin for Arkansas in a good way, meaning I actually kind of like Arkansas. But and I love going to the games there. I've gone 2 or 3 times to watch Alabama play you guys in Fayetteville. But absolutely, when you're coming off, and Vanderbilt's better, but you're coming off of Louisiana Monroe, then you're coming off of Vanderbilt, which shouldn't be a challenge, and you kind of get into that rut, right? Of
you get in that rut. You have Arkansas, and the next week's the A&M. So
correct, and we'll overlook. It could be possible we'll overlook Arkansas getting ready for A&M because that's the whole hype this year is A&M's coming to Tuscaloosa, right? So absolutely, it could be a trap game. There's no doubt about it, especially when we're on the road. Yeah, I know you do. We have not beat Saban since he's been there. Yeah, I know. Well, Saban's really good about making sure his players are focused on the week at hand. But when the A&M Alabama game is all you've heard about since last year, and A&M coming to Tuscaloosa as a 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid, it's very easy to overlook a game. We've all been there, right? And Arkansas could definitely be that one, no doubt.
Well, we got Farron back with us now.
All right.
Farron,
go Hogs! Go Hogs!
Obviously, we got another Hog fan in the house. But Farron, give us your prediction for that Texas Alabama game. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I think that Alabama's Alabama, man, and Texas is still trying to come back. I was at the game last year, the Texas-Arkansas game in Fayetteville. I was there. And me and my wife and my kids sat there for an hour after the game, watched the fans and the emotions. That's what Texas has got to get back.
Yeah.
They've got to get that back. And it comes from leadership. That's the only way. And but Alabama's Alabama. Nick Saban, hey, he's a great. Some people like him, some people hate him. So what?
Everybody respects him.
You got to respect the man, and he does it right. You don't hear anything about him at a bar or loosing out with this loose woman or this that. He teaches them the right way. And the kids are learning from them. Now, you got to understand, he's on top of the game, so everybody is coming after you every day. Not every Saturday, every day. To look for some kind of chink in that armor to pull him down. And he ain't letting nobody pull him down. So my respect, there's no more respect for Coach. A lot of people don't like Lou Holtz, whatever. I respect the heck out of little Lou Holtz, little man with a big squeaky voice. And same respect with Nick, man. Nick has got my respect because he's doing it the right way. And but yeah, Texas not there yet. I call it 37-17 my score. And the only reason I went 37 because on y'all's show on the Alabama, it had 37 on his helmet. That's how I score. Be honest.
Love it.
And then the Texas, it was a Longhorn. I really think that they, built off of that. After the Arkansas game, they got better. They learned a lot from that Arkansas game. But I guarantee you, man, again, that's what Arkansas on the Hill favor every sport has got right. They got momentum. They've got coaches that love their kids and doing it the right way. The atmosphere means so much. So when Texas gets that back, they're going to be a beast again. Alabama's got it, but Alabama's got to keep it. That's the hard part. Yeah. I got Alabama.
Hey, Farron, I got to show you this real quick. Since you mentioned the legend coach Lou Holtz.
Yeah, Louie, man. I love him.
That was 5 years ago to the day.
No way.
5 years ago today, I met Lou Holtz at a conference.
Hey, and don't you love his list? It's just man, and I can remember being a little kid watching him on the sideline. He always had that piece of paper stuck up his butt on the back, walking up and down them sidelines. But what a motivator. He motivated. He got the best out of you.
He always carried his goals on.
Yeah.
And
yes.
He'll ask you about your goals and that type of thing. So, I'm gonna jump in on my Texas prediction for this season. There's 3 teams in the Big 12. I think they're going to give us a little bit of challenges: Baylor, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. I think we handle Oklahoma State. OU could go either way. Baylor, I think this is our year to come back. They've been surging the last couple of years.
I agree.
They got a great program down there, but Texas has got to really fight and get mad about how bad they've been embarrassed over the last couple of years, and get that moxie back and that swag. And I think Sark brings that to them. I think he brings the discipline. I think he brings the confidence. And I think Texas is, like I said, trending in the right direction. They're going to either go 9-1 this season, or they're going to go 7-3. And I think they do make it back to the Big 12 championship. I think they win the Big 12 this year. I think they're going to be poised for a really good season next year with all the talent they got. I don't think they're going to go much further, as far as the national championship. If they can break into the top 10 this season, I think that's a great win for them, but I don't think they will. I think they'll stay somewhere between 15 and 20 for most of the season. That's my thoughts.
I respect that. I think that's good.
All right, so I've got a potential Big 12 champs in the Longhorns, and if that's the case, perhaps they make the at least the Final Four play-in for the championship. I've got Alabama Homer saying they're going to win the championship, or at least make the finals. And all right, I think those are actually probably both pretty accurate. So, also,
who picked Alabama to win the championship?
Steven.
Yeah,
Steven did.
Yeah, Steven. That's why I said the Alabama Homer.
I love you, man, but that wasn't too hard.
I know.
Hey, Brian, going back to your question to Steven earlier, my question would be how many years does Sark have to win or make it to the championship game? Is that 3 years? Is that 4 years?
That's a good one.
Do we stretch it to
3?
5? And I think it's 3. And if he doesn't make it back, is he a potential candidate to replace Saban down the road as the heir apparent down, or Kirby Smart at Georgia? Does Kirby leave Georgia to come over? Maybe.
I think if Sark doesn't, I don't think Alabama is going to want to bring in someone that doesn't succeed. If Sark doesn't succeed at Texas, I think they'd much rather have a Kirby Smart and pay for him. Right. I would say 3 years if you look at Texas's history. But what I don't think people realize is, yes, there's a lot of pressure on Saban and Alabama to remain good, and it's very difficult to remain on the top. Texas, what a lot of people don't realize is there's just as much pressure on Texas to come back.
Damn right.
When you look at, was it 2018 when they had they won 10 games, I think, and Ellinger, or they won their bowl game, and Ellinger said after the game, "We're back."
Yeah, they
Remember the infamous,
beat Georgia
"We're
in the
back."
Sugar Bowl, didn't they?
When they beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, that's exactly right. Even the players understand and feel that pressure. And so until Texas program can bring in the right people, and what I mean by right people, that's what Saban does really well. Just because you're the best cornerback in the country doesn't mean you're right for Alabama's program. Until Texas can bring in the right people that are right for that program and the right coaches that can handle that pressure, they're going to remain the same. They got to build the right team, the right players, and challenge them in the right way. And that's a challenge. That's a big challenge.
Recruiting out of desperation is not a recipe for success.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Like Alabama, 3 depth.
Absolutely.
Have 3 depth in the right position.
That's right.
That's the difference.
You're right.
Yeah.
Everybody's A game. Everybody plays Alabama. That's everybody's A game.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
I love it when Deion Sanders was asked if Jackson State was going to play against Bama soon.
I love that too.
And he said, "There's no way that we're going to play. We don't have the big guys in the trenches to compete at that level because we got some skill players, but there's no way we're going to compete with them on the same field until we get those guys." He goes, "Give us a couple more years, maybe." But yeah, he was very willing to just.
He was.
He's like, "No way."
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, but there's a lot of pressure on Texas to come back too.
I agree.
And there just is. And football, college football needs Texas to be good. They just do.
Well, that's why I'm excited about getting Texas and OU in the SEC. I think it's going to make football better. I think it's going to make football better. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC.
No.
I think they're going to be like a lot of others. But football's better when the best play the best.
Absolutely.
I am sick and tired as a native Texan to see some of our best athletes in the state of Texas that's known as a perennial powerhouse for high school football.
Even
kids leave and go to up north or West Coast or East Coast. And if we could just keep our talent in the state, the schools we have here would just dominate, but it just doesn't. So.
I think that the Big 12 has been mismanaged so bad that it's hurt the brands of all the schools. And people have left because it's a TikTok and Instagram world, and SEC is just putting media content, attractive media content out. So what's the Pac 10, 12, whatever they are now? How many people they got left? But the Big 12 just has kind of remained the same. They just haven't done a lot with it. And I think
it's very stale.
It's very stale.
They have not evolved, and if they don't, they've already lost by losing Texas and OU. So, I mean, they're basically trying to backfill best they can to just survive. But yeah, I mean, the SEC. I hope there's some other conferences that can come up to that level to compete at some point, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Hey, Cody, to piggyback what you said about Texas, man, the issue is you got Baylor, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, TCU. There's so many good schools in the state of Texas. That's the issue. Texas should be a top 3 team every year, just like Alabama. They got to get something up there. They got to get the right coach, the right administrator, something to pull these kids. If you don't play in Texas and you're from Texas, you got a problem.
I agree, 100%.
I mean, 100%. To be a Longhorn, you got to be the best, and you want to go. People want Alabama because Alabama produces championships, and then they go to the pro.
Yeah.
Longhorn.
The likelihood for you to get drafted to go to the next level to set your family up for generations. That's the idea right there.
Well, the best players. I mean, the best players come out of Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I mean, Texas has the money to do everything that Alabama and Georgia's doing. I really believe it started with the Big 12's downfall. That just it wasn't as attractive to go and play in that league anymore, regardless of who you're playing for.
Sure,
I mean, Alabama, if they sat in the SEC and everybody else wasn't good, if it wasn't competitive, it would be harder for Alabama to recruit simply because you're not getting the publicity. This is a publicity world, and that's how people get to the NFL.
It's kind of
And
independent.
if you're
Kind of independent. That.
Well, look
Look
at
at the other big programs that get you the NFL, right? So Ohio State, Michigan, some of the Florida programs, some of the Texas programs. Those are your pipelines. Penn State, I guess, up north.
USC.
Those are your pipelines to the NFL as far as notoriety goes, and the straight track to the NFL.
Well, look at the trend for A&M and Arkansas since they went to the SEC. Both of those schools have trended up. Their programs have gotten bigger. They're getting better athletes. They got the money. Yeah,
That's it. Money.
That's it.
Well, so let's talk about that for a minute. So y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is something that I learned a few years ago, is it not true that Texas and Oklahoma take the majority of the revenue that's produced by the Big 12, and then everything else is kind of doled out underneath? It's not socialism in their conference. The SEC,
right.
the SEC distributes money. When Alabama wins the national championship, everybody gets a cut of it.
Correct.
Everybody is allowed to grow, improve their facilities, spend money on recruiting, and that's what's built the SEC into a powerhouse. It really is. It's that sharing of the revenue generated.
Why would OU and Texas want to leave the environment where they have all that coming to them?
Well,
They want the competition.
It failed.
That's the other factors they can't get there. I mean, they even have the Longhorn Network, and I don't know what that's going to look like when they move to the SEC. Right. But
I heard they got to give that up because of the SEC network.
I believe that's correct. But yeah, they give it up because it's not working. Whoever said that, it didn't work. Yeah. But and also, if you look at it, I mean, Texas brought in $200 million in revenue last year. $200 million, the athletic department. It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, they've got the money. They have got the money.
But
what does that do? Since 2010, Alabama's had 109 players drafted, and Texas has had 38. First round picks, Alabama's had 39, Texas has had 3. And the last offensive first rounder Texas has had was Vince Young in 2006. So what kid wants to go there when you're talking about, hey, you're going to come play here for a few years and then move to the next level when you're competing with schools like Alabama and Ohio? Ohio State puts a lot into the NFL too. They put a ton of players into the NFL. The cream of the crop's going to pick where they can succeed, and that's just where it is right now.
That's your recruiting pitch right there. And it's
absolutely.
That's easy to do.
Yeah.
So
Texas gets talent every year. They get some of the best talent in the nation every year. It's just I've again, as a Sooner fan, I've always been surprised that Texas hasn't been up there every year. So it's always surprising to me.
I'm not surprised. They underperform and don't play up to their potential, and a lot of that's due to the coaching and the schemes and other things.
Absolutely.
And they got unrealistic expectations, just like the Cowboys every season. And when they don't beat those, everybody's disappointed versus managing those expectations and overproducing and under promising. But other thing I'll say to piggyback off what Steven said, Sark right now, the sizzle to his pitch is, hey, you're going to be a part of rebuilding the Texas legacy. You're going to be a part of helping us bring it back. And Ellinger was a little premature. I appreciated his enthusiasm, but they didn't have the depth to go to the next level at that time. I think over the next 3 years, potentially can have that momentum to really get it to another level. Whether we can sustain it or not, like Saban's done all these years, that's the true testament right there, is the restocking of the coaches, getting the players, having that alumni support, having the resources. Texas has got all the stuff to be successful, but can they do it and can they sustain it is really the key.
Well, I think that they've also got to have a fan base and whatever powers that be, as far as, the headhunters down there, when they get a little restless, that can have some patience and allow a coach, a chance, support him in his rebuilding process. They didn't do that with the other coaches. Now, whether those other coaches could have done it or not, that'll never be known. But right. They just don't give them. I mean, it's a microwave society in football, especially. I mean, you got to win now. And,
That's where that 3-year timeline comes in. So it's your recruits. You give them a few years to build the program, and if your recruits don't do it, then it's on to the next, right?
Well, I think Texas needs a PR department that can remind the fans and the people about that. We're on track. This is what we've been doing. This is what we did this year. This is what we're on track to do next year. Because sports fans, I mean, if you're looking in all those chat rooms on Facebook and everything like that, sports fans are the dumbest people in the world. They really are. They got every answer. They got every answer, and none of them have ever coached or ever been an AD. And I mean, they were bashing Arkansas last week because we beat Cincinnati, but we didn't beat them the way they should have beat them.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry.
Right. The style point.
It is style points. It's bragging points. It's what it is.
I want to interject something here. What do you guys think about Lincoln Riley at USC this year? How's he going to do? What's his trajectory out there now?
Good question.
Blake Pettigrew's going to hate me for saying this, but I think he's going to turn out to be like Stoops was at Oklahoma.
I
think he's going to get there, and he's going to get. I think he's going to get there, and he's going to get his tail whipped because I don't think they have the competition week in and week out that they're going to need in order to be where they need to be at the end of the year. And they're going to run into Ohio State. They're going to run into Alabama, Georgia, those type of teams. And I don't think they're going to have played physical ball. It is what it is. I mean,
remember though, he's close to that hotbed recruiting out there so think about all the recruiting hotbeds. Okay. If he can get the stronghold in California, that's a leg up on a lot of the teams that are, I'll call it, equal to or east of the Mississippi.
Here's where I will argue that point because I have watched it as a coach. We had some players that would come to DC, and I mean, when we're out in summer and 7-on-7, they look like All-Americans. They were going to be first-round draft picks. And I said, but we haven't put pads on yet. We haven't hit yet. And you can take all those St. John Bosco players, and I hope Coach Negro's not watching because I don't mean anything bad.
Hey, don't shoot our guests in the foot, Lendon.
No, I'm not. But, you can be flashy, but you got to be tough.
So you're calling those California players pretty boys, huh?
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I just said they've got to prove it. They got to prove it on the field. And,
I don't disagree.
I think that where the SEC has been, most of y'all know Adam Harden, or a few of you do. We've argued this UT thing back and forth, and he goes, the SEC only has a couple of good teams every year. I'm like, yeah, but those couple of good teams are always in the national championship somewhere. I mean, you just can't deny that. So as you get to the top level, those are the most physical teams, and that's why the SEC wins. Their defensive linemen run like linebackers. Their linebackers run like defensive backs, and our defensive backs run faster than the receivers, and they hit. I mean, our game last week, Arkansas, we lost two of our starting safeties. It was a physical game. Cincinnati's good, y'all.
Yeah. And Landon,
they're gonna be moving.
I wanted to speak on that. Now I was going to cut it up. That's the difference. SEC is kind of backwards with Arkansas and Cincinnati. Cincinnati, after this game with Arkansas, is going to run the table.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
They're
not going to play physical teams.
They're going to be, 9-10-1, 11-1. They're going to be top 8 team in the nation, and that's what Arkansas just beat.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's a naive statement to say that SEC's only got a couple good teams every year, because their top 6 every year could beat almost any other conference, on a regular basis.
Well, they get beat up.
Hey,
they do. Heck yeah, they do.
Who's the sleeper team this year? Who slips into the playoffs that no one's talking about right now? That's on the fringe.
Good question.
Good one. It's a good one.
That's a good question.
It's a good question. We've got 1 minute. We got 1 minute to figure it out, guys. I hate to cut this off, but we're gonna have to go.
I don't know if you get. I don't know. I don't like the sleepers. I was at the Alabama-Cincinnati game when Cincinnati was the sleeper, and that was the most boring game in the world. I mean, they were awful. Cincinnati couldn't move the ball. They couldn't do anything. So I'd rather have a good quality powerhouse team that has 3 losses. This is just my opinion. Than a team like a Cincinnati or a Utah who got exposed last week, which was way
Agreed.
overrated.
Agreed.
Somebody like that slip in, and let's get some good football, especially since it's only 4 teams in the playoff. When we get to 12, that's going to be fantastic because we'll get to see those schools.
Out. It will iron itself out. There's no doubt.
Well, I'm going to say I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
No, I think Ole Miss takes a step back this year. I just don't see Kiffin being that consistent. I might be wrong.
I think he's goofy as hell. He's going to find a way.
He is that.
Yes. All right, Brian, anybody got any last words before we close out? We're a little bit over time, but that's not too bad. But hey, I just appreciate all y'all being on here. This has been a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Roll Tide.
Go Hogs.
Go Hogs. Yep. So Brian, close us out, and we'll go from there.
Gentlemen, awesome banter today. I appreciate you guys coming on. We clearly didn't get to the rest of our conversation. We have the NFL kicking off this weekend. Actually, tonight. So we're broadcasting on Thursday. So tonight will be the NFL kickoff. Great game tonight. We got Rams and Buffalo at LA, I believe. So that'll be a great one. But, hey, thanks for joining us today. The banter that we had today. So, again, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on, talking stuff about your teams, also talking knowledge about your teams. We will do this every week going forward. Thursday at noon is our new time. So until next Thursday, we will see you then. Have a great weekend. Go NFL.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Are you in the market for a new or used car or truck? Then contact Derek Wallets at Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford in Carrollton, Texas today. With Derek's 20-plus years of experience in automobile sales consulting and Sam Pack's 42 years of exceptional service in the DFW community, you will quickly understand what it means to experience the Sam Pack difference. So give Derek and Sam Pack 5-Star Ford a call today at 972-299-0028 or email him at dwallets@sampack.com.
WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality.
Metroplex Delivery is DFW's premier restaurant delivery service. Metroplex Delivery brings premium restaurant food right to your door. Metroplex Delivery offers uncompromising white glove treatment. Launching in McKinney and Allen. Give Metroplex Delivery a call at 469-505-0844 or online at www.metroplex.delivery. And by
Alan Lester, branch manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Alan a call at 214-681-0234.
If you would like to know how you and your business can sponsor this show or others like it, please contact us at info@thedifferenceradio.com. And now back to the show.